It is Wednesday, June 15th, 2022. My name is Trevor Plouffe. Chris Rose is somewhere doing NFL Network stuff, so he's got the day off. I got my fellow Roman-nosed buddy here, Jerry Blevins. You know I love him, even though he's a pitcher because he was a reliever. Jerry, how you doing, man?
I'm great, man. Thank you for giving me the reliever status because we, like position players, we lace them spikes up every day, ready to play some ball. So, first of all, happy birthday, big guy.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
The pod god, Trevor Plouffe, birthday. You get a fresh fade too?
Dude, me and you are diced up
Dude,
right
today
now.
I have no idea what mine looks like. I ran from the
Nice.
barber to make sure I was here on time. This is a little bit more structured. I get like some leeway with Shea Station and Jolly. I can bump it a minute or two, but here you got to be on time. I love it.
Got to be on time. You got a nice cut. I think that's the John Boy tie-dye shirt you got going there.
Yes,
Chris
sir.
Always explains my outfit, so I'm doing that to you. You look great today. Chain
Thank
popped.
you, sir.
No big deal, Jerry.
Not normally my style with the tie-dye. I'm more of like a solid color, keep it simple, maybe a collared shirt kind of thing. But these shirts are incredible. My wife loves it, so I rock it.
If you're audio only, might be worth the YouTube click to see Jerry today. He looks pretty good, but we got a lot of topics, a lot of great baseball to talk about. Let's start off with, I don't know if you call it disappointment. Probably you do call it a disappointment. If you're Miles Mikolas, he lost his no-no on a 2-2 count, 2 outs after 129 pitches versus Pittsburgh. First, let's talk a little bit about the outing, Jerry, and then tell me what he's feeling on the mound there.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So first of all, shout out to Cardinals manager Oliver Marmol for giving him that opportunity. This is what we've kind of been begging for since Kershaw got pulled with that perfect game. We were like, give a guy a chance. The Mets, that I covered, had a combined no-hitter, which I could care less about. I really it's not a thing because it's multiple people. This, you felt that kind of, rise. You felt the impact of every inning, every pitch, and then to have it 2-2 he threw a really good pitch. He made a good play on it. That's a heartbreaker, dude. Heartbroken.
Yeah, it was a good pitch. The batter went down. Dan, who was the batter? Look that up and tell us in the chat, please. The batter goes down and gets it. And I think that's why Bader I think he probably could have got to that ball. It was Cal Mitchell. Thank you, Dan. But where the pitch was, I think Bader read like a softer line drive towards him and ends up going right over his glove in center field, bounces for the ground rule double. But they end up getting the victory. The Cardinals are playing some really, really good ball. And it's on the strength of their pitching. And on my birthday, coming back for them, like they even need this, is Jack Flaherty. So the Cardinals are riding high right now. If you're a Cardinals fan, we've been saying this for a couple weeks now. This team feels elite. Like this isn't a Cardinals team that's going to find their way into the playoffs and see what happens. This is a Cardinals team with the way that Goldschmidt is playing, with the way, with Arenado over there at third base. Now the pitching staff doing what they're doing, the young guys doing what they're doing. They're kind of complete. They're one of the more complete teams in baseball right now. And I think it's fun when the Cardinals are good like this. I think it's good for baseball.
I couldn't agree more. Heartbroken for Miles Mikolas because you may never ever get that opportunity again. The big leagues, you saw it like in Wainwright's reaction, how much anticipation holding on to that it was. But I love what you said about the Cardinals. They are elite and they have room to grow, which is kind of scary because Arenado's kind of had a little bit of a lull. You're talked about Flaherty coming back. Nolan Gorman has been a revelation, and Tyler O'Neill hasn't even really become the guy that we've known to love about him. They are a very good team, and they do look elite. And it's always good when you have at least one really good team from the Midwest to prop up the whole country. So I love it.
I like that. We're not coastal elitists here. The 129 pitches, you like that. Is it more, if you're a manager, a pitching coach, you're watching the pitcher out there, is it more about, like stressful innings, laborious pitches? That's the second time I've used that word in the last 2 days. Is that what it's about more so than the count of pitches?
Absolutely. Obviously the number at some point has an effect because you're you're expending an amazing amount of energy, and your every throw that you make is a little bit closer to being, dangerous. But you talked about it. It's those high leverage, those stressful innings, those stressful pitches when there's runners on, it's late in the game. Those are the ones that you count up, and really, outside of an error where the run ended up scoring on a ground ball, he had a pretty smooth sailing. You're starting to get around that point to where, he's not in the Johan Santana level, but you're getting close to where you're like, all right, we'll start thinking about it. But at that point, it shouldn't even have been a bother. Nobody's thinking about the pitch count because he looked strong and he still made a really good pitch. He looked great. It's all about your eye test as a manager at that point.
2-2, man. Like, you think he was trying to bounce it right there? It was in the lower part of the strike zone.
It was backdoor as well. Like, he down and got that.
Yeah, you got to give credit to Cal, man. You know what? As a hitter, Jerry, that feels amazing.
You'd never want to be the guy. Like Gabe Kapler, I think, has been no hit a couple of times, and I think he made the last out at least once. It's you don't want to be the guy that you're just like, when a team's celebrating. It's like the opposite of I've been walked off before in my career. That's a lonely spot to be in because you're like, all right, everybody's celebrating in front of you and you got to like meander around a group of piled up guys. A little bit like that with less pressure though.
I'm going to actually counter your statement because I did get no hit against the Angels. Jared Weaver on the mound in Anaheim. And I came from the same area as Jared. So like I've followed this guy forever. And when it happened, I was happy for him. I mean, I know that you're not supposed to feel that way, but I was like, this is pretty cool. I saw his emotion. Cool.
And it's not like he knocked you out, 27 times. He did this against your entire team of big league hitters.
Yeah, and I pumped him a few times later in my career. No big deal. Let's move on. I was at a game yesterday. Went and saw the Dodgers Angels Freeway Series. Thank you to Drew Butera for leaving me some tickets and some field passes. That was really cool. But the guy on the mound, it's actually a great pitching matchup too, Jared. Thor versus Catterday, Tony Gonsolin and Noah Syndergaard. Gonsolin was absolutely filthy last night. I think he went 6 1/3, had 6 Ks, only 1 hit. ERA down to 1.54. When do we start talking about this guy as like ace material? Again, not like the Dodgers need this guy, but actually maybe they do need him. Buehler's out. We know the whole Bauer situation. He gone. You got him. You got Urias. You got Anderson, and you got, I'm missing one guy. Who am I missing? Kershaw,
that guy. I've heard of him.
But Gonsolin, kind of an afterthought. 1.42. Thank you, Alden. 1.42 ERA. Gonsolin at the beginning of the season, kind of an afterthought. He's pitched like an ace. What do you see out of him, and do you expect it to continue moving forward?
I don't see why it can't continue. I look at what he's got. He's got, nothing stands out as electric. He's not like a high velo, like a Dustin May that has just special stuff, but everything that he throws is really good, and he knows what he's doing. He's able to pitch kind of like, Nestor Cortes in the Bronx. He's my, outside of Jacob deGrom, I love watching Nestor Cortes pitch because it's crafty. He's got good stuff, but he's also having fun with it. Gonsolin is like, I looked at that baseball reference page. There is a lot of bold stuff, ERA plus, whip. His whip is 0.821. And more importantly for me, why it's sustainable is hits. He's given up 4.5 hits per 9. That is wild. That's you're doing special things. I don't see why it isn't sustainable, and I'm glad that you brought it up to talk about it because I've kind of been like, maybe it'll catch up to him because nobody talks about him. I haven't given him the respect that he's due, and I'm glad you brought it up because he needs it and deserves it.
People who listen to our stuff know the Crespi alumni game story, but I'll give it again because this is another, example of Tony Gonsolin being disrespected. I thought he was an alumni of my high school, and I asked him, "Hey, bro, do you want to pitch?" Because I saw the ball coming out of this guy's hand. It was electric. Okay, that might have started this whole thing off for him. Like, this jabroni here covers baseball, doesn't even know who I am. But last night, dude, he was tearing through it, had command of at least 3 pitches. He had like the curveball slurve thing. The splitter was nasty. And then he was just dotting the heater up wherever he wanted, up and into Trout, down and away the next pitch. Anywhere he wanted to throw that thing, he did. And man, a third time through the order, I told the guys I was with, I was like, look, this is a test for him because this lineup is really good. Taylor Ward did hit the ball pretty hard. It was Taylor Ward, Trout, Ohtani, 3 bangers in a row, and he just went through them. Ohtani had the only hit against him, line drive. But Catterday, man, meow. He's got 8 W's on the meow tweet now, 8-0. Shout out, bro. Shout out, Goose, my guy.
Yep. Tip of the cap to you. You're doing something special, and I do think it's sustainable, man. He does it in a fun way. He knows what he's doing, where to put the ball, and he's got 4 pitches that he uses regularly, and so it's not reliant upon any one thing. That he's just really good.
And the standing ovation as he gets pulled last night. Hopefully we'll see that again at the All-Star game, people, in LA. Would love to see that. Moving on, a little less happy news. We're talking about Fernando Tatis. He had a CT scan. The Padres are saying it didn't show the level of healing that they were hoping for, which is an interesting statement. So his timeline is moved back. I guess it's still positive. He got cleared to take fly balls, as before he was just only allowed to take ground balls. I don't know what that means at all. That's interesting. Padres are successful without him. You know, they're at the top of the division still, I believe, leading by a half game. Is that success sustainable? Or they're tied for the division, excuse me. Is that success sustainable until he gets back? Or do they have to go make a move?
I think they have to make a move. First of all, it's sad that Tatis isn't. Baseball needs Fernando Tatis in it. It's a better game overall to have highlights of him. I miss watching him play baseball. So I hope he gets better on a weird whatever timeline that they have. But they've been on the backbone of an amazing starting pitching rotation. Musgrove is incredible. Like he's elite. Manaea and who else? Manaea, Darvish are like a level underneath, but dominating. Mackenzie Gore looks like the real deal. Blake Snell needs to step it up, but they're going to need some hitting outside of Manny Machado. They haven't had enough offense, I think, to be, we just talked about Tony Gonsolin's Dodgers. They're amazing. The Giants and Kapler and Farhan, what those guys are doing, they're always going to be competitive. So I think they need at least one more offensive piece or some of those guys to step up and be who they were supposed to be.
Yeah, I think they could use a bat in the outfield. The shortstop position has been absolutely dreadful for them. Between Kim and Abrams, Jerry, the slash line on the season, 170, 271, 257. Oh. That is very bad. Oh. Even if you're getting great defense, which Kim provides, you got to have at least some stick out there.
You got to have something. You're not getting on base. You're not getting any slugging. That's tough. I mean, that's a glaring hole with Tatis not there.
It's a glaring hole. And I think, but if you're San Diego and if you're, the front office on the team or even a fan of the Padres, I think you can take a little bit of solace and be like, we're in first place without a top 5 player in baseball that we're going to get back at some point this season. And I think they're being smart. Let's let this dude heal up a little bit. You got him for 13 more years or something. Like, let's make sure this dude is healthy. And I'm thinking more along the lines of like, after the All-Star break, seeming like that's what they're saying, which I'm fine with because that leaves enough baseball. Let this guy go have some rehab starts, get some bats under his belt, and then come back. And we know September is when it really matters, okay? People will tell you, oh, they all matter, but I get that. But like, if you got your team at full strength in September, that's what you really want if you're still in the race. So have him for September, have him for the playoffs. I think we're going to see Fernando Tatis come back, and he's never really had to play with a chip on his shoulder, right? Like he's kind of just been good his entire life. The only thing that's ever slowed him down have been injuries. So he's pissed, and I can't wait to see a very angry yet jubilant Fernando Tatis Jr. come back and play. And that NL West race, Jerry, I think is going to come down to, I don't think the Giants are going anywhere. We know the Dodgers aren't going anywhere, and the Padres can sustain it up until he comes back. What a race that's going to be, dude. I can't wait to watch. What a race.
Yeah, I'm excited for it, man. And again, like I love watching Fernando Tatis play baseball. So, you got to be patient for him. He's your guy forever, 13 years, as you stated. But I expect him to come in, and you hope that he's at full strength. The wrist, you would know more than I am. The wrist is basically everything when it comes to hitting, especially when you're not like just a pure muscle guy. He's a lot of motion. But when he's ready, which I think like you said, they'll be patient. I expect him to make a huge impact on the NL West race. That's going to be fun.
Yeah, you got to make sure that thing heals up because you're right. I mean, you're using that for everything in a baseball game. So good vibes, right? Good vibes, Fernando Tatis Jr. Yeah, we'll send it out your way.
Absolutely.
Moving on. This one's fun because you're a lefty pitcher and we have a banger of a matchup tonight in the Bronx. It is Shane McClanahan versus Nestor Cortes Jr., two lefties who are just absolutely dealing this year. Our notes say two of the top 3 AL Cy Young candidates. And if you would have told us that before the year, Jerry, Nestor Cortes Jr. and Shane McClanahan will be those guys, I think we all would have said, no, that's not going to happen. But it has happened. My question to you is, who will have more success tonight in the Bronx?
Tonight. Okay. Because the question wasn't tonight. It was like just more success. I was like, that's so hyperbolic. There's so many things.
Okay. You can answer whatever you want, by the way. Who cares?
Yeah.
I just want to hear your thoughts on these guys.
First of all, lefty love. I love both of these guys. They do it in a different fashion. McClanahan's just pure electric stuff. Nasty movement with 100 from the left side. Nestor Cortes still popping 93s. But he's doing arm angles. He's messing with timing. He's mixing his pitches. Brilliant. It's like power versus the art and craft of pitching. But tonight, Nestor Cortes does not have to face the Yankees lineup. Yeah. And so I'm going to go with Nestor Cortes having more success because Shane McClanahan has to face some big boppers in the Bronx.
God, such a good point. I was looking for any sort of like statistical point to give it to McClanahan. Pretty much every line you look at for both of these guys is elite. Nestor did have a tough start against the Twins. I think that's one of his only hiccups on the season. So then I was like, let's look up some splits. Let's look at how McClanahan does on the road. Well, McClanahan's nasty on the road, Jerry. OPS against on the road. Just want to take a guess?
550.
451. I was like, dude, that's my point. I'm taking that home. Then I was like, I better look up Nestor Cortes at home, what he's doing. 471 OPS against at home. So if you think you're going to get offense tonight, you probably aren't going to get offense tonight. These two guys have figured it out, whatever it may be. You did say these are two differing styles. Obviously, we know that. Nestor with the timing, the funk, the add, subtract. McClanahan with just the pure velo and movement, nasty. I'm going to give it to McClanahan. I'll be the contrary guy today. I don't think the Yankees have seen a pitcher like this yet, or lately at least. Okay. Like there's not many guys that are like this. So, the Yankees feeling good. They're bopping. And this isn't any Yankee hate. I'm a Yankee kind of guy now. I work for a New York company. Actually, we're an LA company. Jimmy always wants to point that out. But I'll give it to McClanahan tonight. I think he just figures something out. But they're both going to be good. I wouldn't be surprised if both these guys went into the 7th inning tonight.
I'm with you. That's a win-win on either hand. Watch it be like a 10-9 ball game. Like
totally could
because baseball. So either way, I'm going to be tuned in. This is must-watch baseball.
And we'll see if Aaron Judge is actually a good player, right? Dan Work, he's finally going to face somebody good. Let's see if he's actually a good player. I'm just kidding. The guy's a stud. Dan is looking at me like he wants to kill me.
I haven't
right
seen
now.
A head snap that quickly in a long time. Usually his camera's off and he just was like, how dare you even think about a bad word about the Yankees?
Dan, I need you to chime in right now. Tell me what his current home run pace is because I know you know it.
All right, so 2 days ago, he was on pace for 66. He hasn't homered since that double homer game he had on Saturday, so he's on pace now for 63.
What a bum.
So still well over pace to break the legitimate home run record, which is Roger Maris's 61.
Okay, Jerry, there's a nice little lead in right there. What do you consider to be the actual home run record? Is it Roger Maris 61 or is it Bond 73, McGuire 70, Sosa 60s millions of times? Is it the 73 or the Roger Maris 61?
I mean, it's 73 to me. Barry Bonds still did it. I'm not going to, there's too many options to go into that and figure out. 61 is still very special. If you cross the 60 homer mark and pass Roger Maris, to me, it's still amazing. But 73, Barry Bonds did it. Not only did he do it, he did it in Pac Bell Park at the time, or AT&T Park. That he would have hit 1,000 home runs if he played in Yankee Stadium. That ballpark at night, like the ball doesn't go anywhere, and he still hit 73.
I think we could look that up. Was there like, there probably wasn't the stat thing back then, StatCast back then. So I guess we can't look
probably,
because right now you can look at whose homers are where, like if they were going to be out of any ballpark. I mean, Barry Bonds is amazing, but I do think there are some people who really do consider 61 to be the legitimate home run record just because of the steroid allegations, obviously. But what I will say to those people, and I think I did agree to that a couple episodes ago. Then I started thinking, who knows what was going on back in the day? We both have played with guys or coaches that said, hey, we had to make sure we drank from the right coffee pot.
Yes, sir.
You drank from the wrong coffee pot, got a bunch of greenies in you, you'd be awake for 3 days. So like amphetamines are illegal in today's game. And I'm not saying Roger Maris was hopped up on amphetamines. I'm saying back in the day, they had a lot of things that helped them out as well. Honestly, today's baseball is the cleanest it's ever been because of all the testing. You can't put anything in your body anymore.
Yeah, people are still trying and people are still getting caught. It's, I'm naive, man. Here's the thing. If you think that 61's the record, then I'm not going to argue with you. That's how you feel. I'm okay with that. For me personally, like at some point, you got to draw a line. And I'm over thinking about an era of steroids. And, to me, put Roger Clemens in the Hall of Fame, put Barry Bonds in the Hall of Fame, and let's just move on so we could talk about this modern era of baseball, which is amazing.
Yeah, the counter to that, if you're a Barry Bonds truther, you can say, well, all the pitchers were doing it too.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Or
like
a lot of them.
You don't, I don't want to go. That's an off the air discussion. I don't want to throw
off the air discussion.
I don't want to get too deep,
Maybe
there's
we'll do
some
that
names in the Hall of Fame
later,
or about to be in the Hall of Fame that were what I would say are steroids guys that never got popped. Roger Clemens never failed a test. Barry Bonds never failed a test. And there's guys that are in that didn't. Like there's nowhere to draw the line. So I erase the line and we'll move on.
You erase that line. Okay.
Just be like, whatever. The guy's good enough to go in the Hall of Fame numbers wise. Let's put him in. I don't want to hear it every time, the ballot comes up. I don't want to think about it anymore. I hate it. Obviously I didn't cheat. It wasn't a thing for me. And I said no, but I didn't play in that era. So I don't know how I would have done. I like to say that I would say no to it, but I have no idea. So I'm just over it as far as overall discussion. But if you feel like you don't want any of those guys in, you have the right to do that. And I respect it. I just happen to feel differently.
Nobody even offered me steroids. Like, who offers you steroids? You have to go seek them on your own, because I never did that. But nobody also was like, hey, bro, do you want some steroids?
Do you see this body? Are you like, hey, do you want to throw some muscle on for free? Like, I was like, offended that I never got offered. I don't know. I'm just naive. Like, I just go through thinking everybody's like on the up and up until proven otherwise.
Oh, I love that about you. All right, let's end this portion of the show on a little bit lighter note. These guys want the story to die, but it's just too good. It's the story that keeps on giving. We're talking about Joc Pederson and Tommy Pham. Apparently there were some shirts made and the Giants were wearing them on the field. And they said, Fantasy Football 101, stashing players on the IR isn't cheating. If you don't know the story, go Google it. Say Joc Pederson, Tommy Pham. It was the slap heard around the world. Pham responded to a Field Yates tweet saying, like, joke's on them. I have the IR rules. And I told Joc I was going to pimp slap him for breaking the rules. And he did. Do you want to keep talking about this, or should we just like let this story go? It's pretty funny to me, but I want to hear about you.
I love the story. I love that fantasy football has got into the baseball world, and anytime you're talking about baseball, any press is good press. I love the t-shirts. It reminded me of when Madison Bumgarner was yelling at Max Muncy, and then they came up with a shirt like, go get it out of the ocean. Yeah. Like, that's one of the best, it reminded me of that. But I am, I might be putting my life on the line saying this. I am over Tommy Pham being the tough guy. Like, I understand you're tough. You're MMA guy. I guess you're a big shot in Vegas, whatever that means. You signed up for a league, you quit. That's 101. You quit a league, whatever the case may be. Also, violence is not okay. Like slapping a grown man, like that's assault, man. Like you think it's cool? It's not cool. If you think you're really tough, go to MMA and do your thing there. This is where sophisticated people are living a life. I love fantasy football. I play it all the time. I don't want to be in threat of getting my face like slapped on in national TV. Like it's just, I'm over Tommy Pham acting super tough. Maybe it's not an act, whatever it is, but I think he needs to be an adult a little bit and grow up from there.
Jerry, the voice of reason. I also agree. I am a little scared of Tommy, so I think he is an actual tough guy.
I agree.
I agree with you. There's no place to go ahead and assault somebody on the baseball field, whether you told him you were going to do it or not. And I've been in these big money leagues before. Okay. Like it is stressful and you do want people to follow the rules. We don't know who's following the rules, who isn't following the rules. To me, I've done the same thing as Jock before. It's this kind of strategy. But if there were rules in place, I guess Tommy's got a point. But my overall point is Mike Trout, not a good commissioner. He should never run a fantasy football league again. But if you have ever been a commissioner, you do understand it's a thankless job, bro. It's a thankless job. So maybe just don't get involved, Mike.
Yeah, absolutely. You need a commissioner to step in. Why would you think Mike Trout's going to be a dialed-in commissioner? I would be like, this guy has no worries in the world. He's not worried about your IR slots.
All he cares about is the Eagles, baby. How
That's
the Eagles
right.
do today?
Oh my gosh. So yeah, I'm Tommy Pham is probably a legit tough guy. There's a few rules that I have in my life. One of them is don't fight a guy with cauliflower ear. Don't mess with him. And Tommy Pham, I don't know, but if he's rolling around doing jujitsu stuff and he probably has a little bit as a marker, I'm not going to mess with him. But you're also a grown man in a industry that doesn't need you slapping other grown men on the warning track.
Yeah, I'll end the discussion with this. If you're about to fight someone, a good rule of thumb is to ask them if they've ever wrestled.
That's a good point.
And if they have, just say, I'm out.
Yeah, I'm in Ohio here, the Midwest. This is like a lot of high school wrestlers, like college. Yeah, I'm not messing with those guys. They're a different breed.
They're a different breed. What do you got coming up on John Boy Media? Anything out?
We just did a new Shea station yesterday at the end of this one, and then I'll be coming to New York to do some pre and post game stuff with SNY. So if you're a Mets fan, you're in the area, tune in. I'll be doing this whole weekend.
Love it. We got a Talking Baseball out today. We talked about some relievers that aren't getting enough shine. We talked about some starters who could be on the move. Good show, good midweek episode. So go check that out. Shout out Chris Rose. We miss you, buddy. But thank you, Jerry, for filling in. I'll be back tomorrow here with Jolly.
The other half
of Shea Station. Go follow Shea Station. Go watch it. Go listen to it. Go do what you got to do. They do an excellent job there. Thank you to our amazing producer, Dan Rourke, Alden Stone, for the questions today.
Yes, sir.
That'll do it. And I'll see you guys tomorrow at 8:30 PST or 11:30 EST on YouTube or the AMP app. I'll check you guys then. See ya.